Okay, so welcome to the first tutorial called Zero to Hero. What's in the video? Well, we're going to show you where to download our virtual appliance from. I'm then going to show you how to deploy two of those appliances on VMware ESX, how to assign the network information so that we can then connect via the web browser to those virtual appliances, and then we're going to license that virtual appliance. We're going to create a cluster between the two of them, which will then sync the config, and that config will consist of a service for HTTP and HTTPS, and that HTTPS is SSL offload. So let's begin. So to obtain the free trial, you go to jetNEXUS.com, click on Load Balancer Free Trial, and then we'll fill out our information here. So give yourself your first name, your last name, I think the company details, the phone number. Most important of all will be the email address, because this is the email address that you will be sent the links to download the virtual appliance. So make sure that's correct. This is the one I'm filling out now. And you can also give your website address. This will go into our CRM system so we can then contact you. And then once you've completed your location, click Save and Submit, and you should get a "Well played, sir, thanks for getting in contact." That will then send you an email, and the email will look similar to this from the lovely Emily. And I'm going to click on the VMware ESX download link, and that will start my download. So the download will be in a zip format, so you're going to have to unzip this, and once you've unzipped this, go to your ESX host. You're going to go File, Deploy OVF Template, find that OVA from the unzipped file, click Next. Next again, give your ALB a name, so I always start with the IP address. This one's going to be 71 tutorial 1, and then click Next. And then select your location, your storage location. I'm choosing thin provision because I'm running out of storage, and then finish, and then that will build your OVA. And depends on how quickly your ESX is. Mine is just a small ESX. So not that quick, it's probably about 50 seconds for mine. Let's deploy box 2 now. Same again, we'll find the OVA file, give it a name. This is going to be .72 tutorial 2. And we're going to go through the same process again. Click Next once this is done. Find your storage. You can go thick or thin provisioned. I'm going thin. Finish, and then that will build. And then we'll have two load balancers, which we're going to put in a high availability pair. So let's connect to those load balancers and set up the IP address information. First of all, we want to start it with the green play button. And that starts the OS, which is Linux. Then we run on top of Linux as an appliance. And then initially what you'll get is 10 seconds to interrupt the DHCP challenge. So we've done that, and then we're going to add in our IP address. So this is a command line wizard to add in our network information. Here we put the network mask, so a 24-bit network /24. The gateway is 10.121. And then a name server or DNS server is 192.168.3.200, and then it'll run checks, and then it will start your appliance. You can see there the GUI address, but we can log into the command line with admin, and password is jetNEXUS, all lowercase. Type help for a list of commands, always useful. One of those commands is ifconfig. And we can see the IP address that we've given it to it. We can also use the machine ID, and this machine ID is used to license your box. We can also obtain this machine ID from the license section of the graphical user interface. So here we're going to boot up box 2. We're going to do things a little bit differently with box 2. This one we're going to let the 10 seconds elapse, and we'll let the box go to DHCP. So it just gives you another view of how you can put that network information onto your box. If you have a DHCP server, then it will get that information. Of note is if you don't have a DHCP server, it will time out and then it will assign a static IP address of 192.168.100.100. So you'll always get an IP address. And then you can go onto this one, we can go to admin jetNEXUS again, check the IP address. This time we're going to change it because we want this to be on the same network as our box 1 or tutorial 1. And we're going to use the set greenside command. So set greenside equals 10.1.2.72, and that will change the IP address of the web console or graphical user interface, or WUI as some people call it, however you want to call it. Then we're going to check that that's worked. ifconfig, if I could spell. Yep, so we're on 72. We've got to add a default gateway now, or a gateway, so we're going to add root add default GW and then the IP address of that gateway, and then we can check that with the root command. Perfect. So now we've got our two boxes, 71 and 72. We can now access our web interface. So first thing we do is HTTPS / / the IP address of the first box, which is 71. Pop in your IP address, your username and your password of admin jetNEXUS, and save that for next time. Let's go to box 2 now, so the same address but with 72 on the end. Admin jetNEXUS again, and there we have box 2. I always save that password. There we go, 2 blank boxes really. So one of the first things that I would do is probably change the name so that we can recognize it. And you'll see the tab up at the top changes too. So if we click update on that, if we close the appliance tab, you can see it's gone to tutorial 1. Let's do the same on box 2 or tutorial 2. Click update. And we'll close that down so we can see the tab at the top has changed to tutorial 2, just so we can recognize them easily. Okay, now let's have a look at the license. So we can see the license is a trial license of 14 days, and you have 2 virtual IP addresses and 4 real servers, and there's our machine ID. So I've already licensed these. I'm going to select that license based on that machine ID and click upload. You'll see you get the green uploading license banner at the bottom. So we'll do the same on box 2. Tutorial 2, machine IDs match, and then we'll upload, and let's go and have a look back at box 1, and you can see that's now gone to permanent licenses, and I've given myself 32 and 120. So that's 32 virtual IP addresses and 120 real servers, which is at the bottom there. So that's your nodes or your hosts, your web servers, your link servers, your SharePoint servers. Okay, let's have a look on box 2 now. You see the same as happened to box 2. And this time I'm going to configure a service. So a service is a virtual IP address with a subnet mask and a port. We can give that a name. We can select the service type, and I think we're going to just choose HTTP in this instance. So we can scroll down, click enter, and then we add a real server. So this is a web server. So 201, port 80 again, web server 1, and there we've got a web service. So we're waiting for that server to go online. It's gone online, we passed our health check, and then we'll test that web service out. There we go, so we can see we've gone to web server 1. We've only added 1 server into that virtual service. And you can see web server 2 is blank still, so we're going to add web server 2 into the cluster. So we'll select the unclaimed device and add it to the cluster. and we'll watch that be populated, so automatically it will sync across and it will go into passive mode. So these are now active passive. Tutorial 1 is active and tutorial 2 is passive. So we can actually configure box 2 now because it's in that cluster, and we'll add another server into that virtual service, so web server 2, and that will automatically sync to all members of the cluster really. Here we've only got 2 in the cluster, so it will sync to tutorial 1, and we'll have a look at that in a minute once I've finished typing this out. So there's 3 servers in our service, and we have a look at tutorial 1 and it's already synced across. What we can do is add a port this time, so it will automatically fill out the IP address and the subnet mask. We're going to give it 443 because we're going to configure an SSL offloaded service. Select HTTP again, add in our servers, add in our port 80 this time because we're offloading, so we're still talking to the web servers on HTTP even though the client will be talking to the load balancer with HTTPS. So we'll add our 3 servers in again. And what we need to do after we've added in this remaining server is to add our certificate to the virtual service. And that's done in the, if you have a look at the middle section where you can see server, basic, advanced, we're on the server highlighted section. We're going to go to the basic section and we're going to look at the virtual server SSL certificate. We're going to select the default one and click apply, and then we're going to go and open up that link. Actually, let's just have a quick look at box 2, see if that's synced. Yep, so that's synced. It's got the default one, it's got the 3 servers. We can even synchronize certificates that are created on either box. So here, why don't we create a local certificate? We're on tutorial 2, so we'll create a local certificate, give it a name, and then the other information, when you're doing it, obviously you'll fill it out properly. Here I'm just going to put test. I always like to choose 2048 as a minimum, and we'll give it a year's worth of local certificate. Create that certificate. We can actually check that certificate's on the box. We go to manage certificates, look at the drop down box, we can see our self-signed certificate. So let's go and have a look at box 1. We'll apply that first and then we'll go and have a look at box 1 and see if that's gone ahead and transferred across. There we see it's gone across already. And we can look at that certificate and we can see, there we go, created on tutorial 2, transferred to tutorial 1, and now we can just put HTTPS in there, and because it's a local certificate we get the warning. We're going to look at that certificate, see if it's the same one we added, and there you go, test.com. Okay, thanks for watching video tutorial 1, 0 to Hero, and if you need any more information please visit jetnexus.com/user central.